Welcome to First. I'm Shirley Min along with Michelle Polston and Mark Eichman. This week, Delaware will be represented during the papal visit. We'll listen to some singers and check out the artwork of some special nuns.
Security is a big part of the papal visit. Part of that security begins on the Delaware River. We'll ride along with a team involved in that protection.
Vision 2015 was once hailed as a blueprint for education in Delaware. Now a new vision has been laid out, and we'll talk about the goals this week. First, your public media news magazine starts now.
Pope Francis's visit to Philadelphia is just a week away, and the final details are now in place. This week, we have a two-part first look. First up, the papal choir. 140 parishes are represented in the 500-member choir, which includes 28 parishioners from Delaware. I caught up with two of them in Hockessin, who happen to be husband and wife.
It's not every day that you have the chance to sing for the leader of the Catholic Church. So when the Archdiocese of Philadelphia invited the Diocese of Wilmington to send its vocal best, hundreds tried out for a spot in the papal choir.
The fact that they opened it up to folks from neighboring dioceses was really quite nice of them to be able to include us. They didn't have to.
The Archdiocese didn't make the auditions easy. Patricia Lundy knows. She tried out.
It was very hard. Sight reading, repeating lines that she would play a cappella to make sure that you are on pitch, that you can hear.
Lundy worships at St. Mary of the Assumption in Hockessin, where her husband Michael is the director of music.
La, 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 la.
Repeating notes like he's doing now wasn't as easy during Michael's audition.
The passage he played were kind of long, and then they started getting longer, so you had to remember these notes and these tones, of course, that you had not heard before. I thought that was a bit much, but I think I did okay.
He did better than okay. In fact, they both did.
I mean, the audition, you hear, hundreds of people going, and then to actually get picked was wow.
Michael, Patricia, and the other 498 papal choir members have been practicing since July here at the Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul in Philadelphia. And while it hasn't always been easy juggling work, an hour-long commute each way for rehearsals, and finding sitters for their 4 kids, the Lundys welcome the chaos with open arms.
It's something that we can share together. It's such an honor to be even a part of any part of that ceremony.
It's a very deep and profound happiness and joy that you get from being able to serve the church in this way.
The Catholic Diocese of Wilmington says another handful of its members were selected to sing in a smaller gospel choir that'll go on before the papal choir sings at the Pope's Mass on Sunday.
So outside of some of its members singing in the papal choir, does the Diocese of Wilmington have any responsibilities for Pope Francis?
It doesn't. Bob Krebs with the Diocese of Wilmington says Bishop Francis Malooly will greet Pope Francis when he lands at Joint Base Andrews, but outside of that, their only responsibility is to enjoy the visit.
Okay, well, awesome. Thanks, Shirley. There is a group of nuns in Newcastle who will also share the arts and culture spotlight with Pope Francis. We caught a quick peek of their work a couple weeks ago. Here's a little more on their creations and the meanings behind it.
The Sisters of the Caterina Benacasa Dominican Monastery in Newcastle are getting ready for their upcoming exhibit in Philadelphia during the Pope Francis visit. While they are looking forward to sharing with the world all they have to offer, their mission remains steadfast.
Well, mainly our work is prayer. So would attract a woman who is looking for a way to give her life to God without, as Sister May Grace mentioned, She wasn't interested in teaching or nursing or apostolic works, but she felt the call to give herself to God.
The sisters believe God has given everyone gifts and talents to serve, and there is no talent that is too small.
Right now, I'm just folding it so that it'll be ready for whoever gets to see it. This artwork, well, this is actually a vocation brochure. It's telling people who we are and what we do. And so this will be at our booth in Philadelphia.
It's that commitment to helping people find and utilize the gifts within them that brought the sisters together many years ago.
Our aim is to use the talents of anybody who's here, anybody that comes to us.
One way the sisters help advance their mission is through the artwork of Sister Mary Grace.
When I entered in 1962, I was already graduated from an art school, so they knew I was an artist.
Two of her paintings will be raffled off during the World Meeting of Families Congress in Philadelphia.
It's been a great blessing in my life that I've been able to develop my artwork all these years, and this is kind of like a finale, really.
The sisters hope the exhibit will draw more visitors to their small art gallery inside the Newcastle Monastery. A look inside, and you'll see Sister Mary Grace has been busy for many years.
I'd say there are hundreds. And monoprints, oil paintings, pastels, sculptures, clay, woodcut prints.
Sister Mary Grace took us for a tour and shared with us the inspiration behind some of her work.
This I created it because that big heart shape, I had the wet kind of macular degeneration, and that's what I could see from my left eye, and I couldn't even see the big E, so I thought I should do something with it. So that's a collage, and I just did it for that reason. And this is soapstone, so you just find an image in there and keep going and make it as smooth as you can, polish it up, and then you take a propane torch and a piece of wax, and that makes it shiny. Or you can use linseed oil. And it's a very nice, fun thing to do because you're just kind of shaping things as you go. You don't really know what you're going to get. We call it the Light of Truth. I think that's the title I gave it. But it was when we were in Cincinnati, and it was the Dominican laity group. The extern sister asked me to do it for them. This was done for an exhibit, and it's a triptych. So this is the creation, the moon, the hand of God, Adam and Eve, birds, mountains, fish, foliage. So that's the Father, creation. And then we go to the redemption with Christ hanging on the cross for us, crowned with thorns. The Holy Spirit and Mary is the central figure. We're all there receiving the Holy Spirit.
The sisters say many people call their art gallery and gift shop, which sits behind the Holy Spirit Parish Church, the best kept secret in Delaware. But the hope is, after the closing of the World Meeting of Families Congress, that will no longer be the case. If you'd like to get an up-close look for yourself, the gallery is open on Saturdays from 1 to 5 p.m. and 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Sundays. For more information, go to PentecostaOp.org. The World Meeting of Families run from Tuesday, September 22nd through Friday, September 25th at the Pennsylvania Convention Center in Philly. Pope Francis arrives Saturday morning and stays through Sunday evening. WHYY-FM will have special coverage of the papal visit, including the Mass on Sunday, September 27th.
Coming up on First, the waterways that lead up to Philadelphia are a part of the papal security plan. In a few minutes, we ride along with the team who protect the Delaware shoreline.
Back in 2006, a group of educators, business execs, and community leaders published a plan called Vision 2015. The document was a blueprint of sorts, geared toward making Delaware's public schools the best in the world. Well, 2015 has arrived. Delaware hasn't quite reached that lofty goal, but many of the plan's recommendations have become part of the broader discussion around education in the first state. Now we have a rebooted version of that group that's come out with a new plan, Student Success 2025. Here to discuss that document are two folks who helped craft it: Paul Herdman, President and CEO of the Rodale Foundation of Delaware, and Dr. Susan Bunting, Superintendent of the Indian River School District. Thank you both for joining me here on First Person this week. Thanks so much. I wanted to go back to Vision 2015, which is what got all this started.
Yeah.
I'll start with you, Paul. Of all the ideas and proposals that came out of that, is there one or two that you're really most proud of?
I would say, one in particular is early learning, and Susan can certainly expand on this because she's been a leader of this. But at the time, in 2006, it was a concept. It got into the report in 2006, 2009. The governor put $20-some million, and then 2011, the federal government put another $50 million or $49 million, so about $70 million over that period of time, to a point now where we started with very few kids having access to high quality early learning, particularly if they're low income. Today, 58% of those kids are in high quality learning opportunities. That's 10,000 young people. And that was one of those areas where everybody knew it was important, but thought it was going to be too hard to do. And I feel like that was really a powerful one.
Created the momentum.
Yeah, yeah.
Dr. Bunting, moving now to the 2025 plan. When a big plan like this comes out, do superintendents and principals pay attention, or do you have to go out there and message it and say, hey, pay attention to this. This is on the horizon now. Here are the new ideas.
I think it's a combination.
Yeah.
Several of the superintendents have been involved in the creation of this rebooted version.
Right.
We have been involved with 2015 from the beginning of Vision 2015, and so now it was a natural transition into a newer plan for the next decade. We have kept our chiefs group informed, and I think that's one of the benefits of having chiefs involved in the making of it, and we had a number of them involved in the subcommittees that were important in crafting the plan. So we will do further publicity, and we do have changes in our group as other groups change over the years, so that's a re-education opportunity for us as well.
Before we get to the content of the new plan, I wanted to ask about the tone of it. One thing that you read in Vision 2015 is just the ambition. It's just full of ambition. We're going to make Delaware public schools the best in the world. I don't get as much of that in this new version. Was that intentional, Paul? And if so, why?
I think there's still a ton of ambition.
Okay.
And the aspiration is still that we could be one of the best in the world. I mean, that's the aspiration, one of the best in the country for sure. I think that the way to think about it is that if you look at the highest performing systems in the world, the Finlands and the Singapores, if you look back to the 60s, they were well behind the United States on every measure. And what they did was they said, we need to look at the long-term issues, because what happens is that things constantly change with presidential and gubernatorial changes, and you need to have a long-term vision that outlasts those transitions. So we engaged in this 10-year process with the aspiration of becoming one of the best in the world. And I think we're on a long-term journey. I mean, the hope is that there'll be a different group of folks 10 years from now saying, all right, let's pick up the baton and take it to the next level.
I'll ask you, Dr. Bunting, what do you think in your mind really distinguishes Student Success 2025 from Vision 2015?
The breadth of the planning group. This was developed by several subgroups. We each took a facet of the original plan, I believe, and drove it into the next decade. And that involved a number of community members in combination with the business community and educators. Together, we crafted a plan that then went out to the public. We had a number of focus group meetings. It was followed by those were followed by a survey that went out to a number of people, so that by the time this was finished, you had at least 4,000 members of Delaware's public involved in contributing to and reacting to the plan. So I think the breadth of the planning group and the reactions that were gathered from so many different facets of the community make it a really important plan for the future, a visionary plan.
How about you, Paul? Anything that really stands out you think makes this one significantly different from the last?
Sure. So I'll start with there's certainly some things we're building on, right? So there's some building blocks of Common Core type standards, higher standards, and early learning. Those are building blocks. And there were some things that we didn't get much traction on, like funding.
And we're talking about changing the funding system so it's more equitable and less rigid, right?
Yeah.
The unit plan has been in place for a long time.
Yeah, over 7 years. But I'd say two of the biggest distinguishing pieces are, one is around personalization, which is kind of the integration of technology. We didn't envision that playing as big a role back in 2006. And I think we also kind of stopped our thinking at 12th grade. We said we kind of waved the flag at what happens after that, but in this we go much deeper into college and career access.
Real quickly before we have to go, I want to ask about that because I see a lot in this report about sort of alignment and reorganization and making sure various people are talking to one another who don't always work together. How do you actually make that happen, though? How do you actually get these people? How do you get the K-12s and the higher eds in the room and working on things together?
I think through the planning process, but then the connections are made, so that is a continued conversation. And you would be fascinated by the change in our high schools, for example, the integration of college courses, the opportunity for a student to leave high school with a half year's college tucked under her belt because of AP possibilities, dual enrollment, and just the knowledge that you needed to be really focusing on the college and career readiness. And I do stress career readiness as well.
Well, we're going to continue to follow this issue. Thanks so much, Paul Herdman, President and CEO of the Rodell Foundation in Delaware, Dr. Susan Bunning, Superintendent of the Indian River School District. Thank you both so much for being here. Obviously, we're going to be talking about all this stuff a lot more over the next 10 years. You can follow more on this story at newsworks.org/Delaware.
If you're just joining us, then you can catch up on the show by going to WHYY.org/first. Don't forget to sign up for our e-newsletter so you can be the first to know what WHYY is doing in Delaware. We've been reporting at the top of the show and all over the pages of newsworks.org about the upcoming visit of Pope Francis to Philadelphia. Security is a big part of those preparations. Here in Delaware, it starts with a Marine unit from the Delaware State Police, which patrols the waters throughout Newcastle County.
We basically patrol all the Delaware waterway, which is within the boundaries of the state of Delaware.
Delaware waterways are extremely important to the state's economy. The Delaware River, Delaware Bay, and the C&D Canal are a popular mode of transportation for recreational and commercial vessels.
Delaware Bay and Delaware River have a large amount of foreign flag vessels that come from foreign, and their first time into the United States is the Delaware Bay and moving up the Delaware River. A lot of those are coming from Colombia and coming into the United States for the first time. A lot of cargo ships are coming towards the port of Wilmington and towards the port of Baltimore, and they're all using the C&D Canal to get to that destination for importing and exporting. We also have oil coming in from foreign, or natural gas coming in from foreign that comes up the river for the first time. So there's a large, very large percentage of first entry into the country is the Delaware Bay and Delaware River, which is a concern for ours, and that's why we partner up with U.S. Customs and the Coast Guard.
Keeping Delaware's infrastructure safe is the job of the three-man crew aboard the DSP Marine One. The metal shark boat was built in 2010 thanks to a $1.6 million federal port security grant.
Prior to the port security grant, the state of Delaware had very minimal Homeland Security presence along the Delaware River and the C&D Canal.
Their job, survey targets that could be vulnerable to suspicious activity or terrorist attacks. The unit, which operates 24/7, patrols up and down Delaware's waterways.
We're constantly looking at all the little areas that maybe somebody could go to, because anywhere around here you have a lot of critical infrastructure. You got all the power lines, the refineries, Salem nuclear plant, Edgemoor Power Plant, the Port of Wilmington. So we have a lot of areas that we want to keep an eye on. This is the Delaware City Refinery. A lot of times there's a lot of oil tankers and all that come up here. It's very busy 24/7 every day. So we constantly try to keep it monitored here.
The specially built boat is outfitted to respond to emergencies at a moment's notice.
We have enough room in here to put 8 guys in full equipment, long guns, and get them out to a boat at a real quick, as quickly as we can, and then have them deploy on a boat and do it safely. Okay, this is a side sonar that's used. That device under the boat's giving you basically on the sides anything that we could see as maybe as suspicious on the bottom. And then in the bottom, it sort of gives you an outlay with a radar array that sort of gives you an idea of anything that we would deem as suspicious.
The crew says the key to protecting Delaware's waters lies in the contacts they've created.
You know, the people, you know, that work at these companies, they are our force multiplier. As much as we try to assist as much as possible in the federal aspect and keeping everything moving, our force multiplier are the citizens of Delaware and everybody who's actually coming through. So we try to make as much contact with foreign recreational vessels as they come through too. We're still pushing that, see something, say something.
While the unit's job is not to police recreational boaters, they do assist their partners on the water when needed, like helping this stranded boat that stalled right in the path of a moving tanker.
Hey guys, what we're going to do, since you are floating in the middle of the channel here and you're adrift, what we're going to do is we're going to hook up to you. We're going to get you into safe water, let you kind of throw anchor and go from there, all right?
But the crew emphasizes their main job is to assist custom agents and Homeland Security investigations.
We follow just the basic general, Homeland Security assessment as far as, the terrorism alerts. U.S. Coast Guard operates at a MARSAC level, which is a Marine Security level. And what we'll do is if they raise their level, we'll try to reach out, be good partners, assist them as best as they can to maintain, that level of security, whatever it is they base that intelligence off of.
The crew was called into action last year to assist Secret Service with the presidential visit.
Last year, President Obama made a visit here to the port, and he was generally up in this area here. We had to do a lot of security and worked with the Secret Service, and they had Navy divers, and we had some of our divers dive the bulkhead here looking for suspicious packages and making sure that the area was secure for the president.
The fact that DSP Marine 1 will be a part of the security detail shows just how critical those water patrols along the Delaware River are really to the whole region.
So some really cool pictures in that story. What do people need to do if they want to work on the boat?
Obviously, a lot of training goes into it. It's a 3-man operation, and there's training available through the state police, also through the Coast Guard. Corporal Lukoc, who was at the helm in our story, he is a former merchant marine.
Okay, well, thanks, Mark. Our reference to security for the papal visit gives us an opportunity to tell you to check out our frequently asked questions on the visit of Pope Francis. Check it out at WHYY.org/Pope in Philly.
The planting of 2,700 trees began this week at Mount Cuba. The trees are broken up into 6 plots, and it's hoped that their growth will provide a new way to reforest open spaces. What makes it more interesting is that it's the largest study of this kind ever undertaken in the U.S. The news gives us a chance to view the beauty of Mount Cuba in our first experience through the eyes of the plein air painters of the Mid-Atlantic.
Boy, did we get lucky with this beautiful weather. It's just a gorgeous place to paint.
With the plein air painters of the Mid-Atlantic, and we pick a different place in Delaware every Wednesday from April until October. I'd never been here. It's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
With a beautiful day like today, with the sun coming through the leaves and the light and the mottled sunlight, it's an artist's paradise.
You feel like you are one with nature. There is such a variety here. It's so hard to choose a specific location and to zoom in on either one plant, one flower, tree, a vista. It's very inspiring.
It's inspiration overload because there's so many beautiful spots here, and not ever having been here, you want to check everything out.
Whenever you have water, you're always inspired, and this water goes into little waterfalls and down into another pond, and every direction you look, there's a site that would be great to paint.
Trying to find the best spot where I can convey that spot to the canvas, and it's always then embedded not only in your memory but on canvas.
I'm a painter who paints from my heart first. It has to inspire me, it has to be exciting, and lots of inspiration here.
Who couldn't be inspired in a place like this? You almost feel like you're in an untouched area of a native forest or something.
Any day you're able to come out and paint is a good day. It is just gorgeous.
It's a special place, you know, people really should discover it.
Doesn't that look like the perfect end of summer thing to do? There are lots of tours and classes available at Mount Cuba, and you can find them on the web at mountcubacenter.org. And if you're interested in learning more about the plein air painters of the Mid-Atlantic, you can find them on Facebook.
Next week on First, the Delaware Theater Company is ready for a very ambitious season. We'll see what's in store for them and the reason for their enthusiasm. And here's a job where enthusiasm is part of the job description. It's our Teach Me segment, Training Monsters, next week on First.
Avi Wolfman-Arndt, hard at work as always. I can't wait. That is First for this week. We thank you for watching. For Shirley Min and Mark Eichman, I'm Michelle Polston. Have a great week.